What to do when an addict does not want help? This is a very difficult situation, but the first thing is to not enable them. So what that means is don't give them money or anything else that could make things comfortable for them. Sometimes people need food and shelter and money, and that is a very difficult thing for a loved one to cut them off from. It is in our nature to care for each other. That's just part of being human. But what happens is this person will end up, if you give an inch, a person can take a mile. So they end up generally abusing this privilege and take advantage of it. They don't mean to. This is not like a character flaw. This is the fact that a person who is addicted to anything will go to extreme lengths to continue feeding their habit. So it's hard to invoke a tough love approach, but that is what I'm suggesting right now. To have firm boundaries is also important, to make sure that the ground rules are laid. So for example, don't bother come by the house unless you are clean and are not going to ask for money. For example, you're welcome to come for dinner, but there's not going to be any more handouts aside from that. So that's a good example of setting the ground rules ahead of time, or the boundaries, so the person does not push it. Anybody who has experience with this knows that they want to care for their loved one, and their loved one preys on their affections and compassion to use it to their own advantage. And that sort of manipulation, like I said before, is part of the addiction, and we're not to judge this person. This is a normal part, and it's a very common thing amongst people who exhibited addictive behaviors. Finally, the next thing to do is to let them know that your help is there when they're ready to ask for it, that you continue to have support for them, but you cannot help them yourselves, and if they're not going to help themselves, then there's nothing that you can do further aside from being helpful to them should they change their mind, that in that situation that everything changes, and that you would go to extreme lengths, as most loved ones would do, to try to help them. So to summarize, if somebody does not want to get help, it's a very difficult situation. They cannot be forced into rehab. Interventions sometimes work, sometimes don't, but if this is somebody who's been through the cycles before and been through rehabs, you will know that an intervention won't help, that we should not enable them by giving them money to support their drug habit, and to let them know that you're there for them, but at your rules of what you want to have done. So you will not give them money, you will not help them out unless they want to get help for themselves, and in that situation then to turn and then seek help together. I hope that helps. If you have any questions or concerns, please leave it in the comment box below.